Hi folks and fans of the expeditions, welcome back to Glasgow's Old Ruins, where today we begin in the city's busy West End for a very interesting and insightful journey into medieval history.
Because the base was bombed, the airfield, and they threw it. No opinion like
Beginning here on Partick's wonderful snow bridge, which overlooks and overshadows the oldest known ruins of this area. This means that these river ruins that we're going to explore in today's episode predate every other man-made structure in this area. So, as you can see, this episode is set in a much more familiar location, standing in between Partick, Kelvingrove, Kelvin Hall, the art galleries and the university. The information in this episode is a must know for wanderers of the area. Before we move onward onto the ruins, I'd just like to cover some important details which will assist in painting a full picture of the history here. So, this is the snow bridge, built 1800, though it does have a much more older looking style, quite medieval in design or perhaps even Roman. Yeah, so it's said that in winter these gates would be opened up to shovel the snow off in the early 1800s. Which was a much needed necessity, as this bridge was the main river crossing at this section, as that Partick bridge wasn't constructed yet. And there was another bridge down at Bishop's Mill, downstream, which was demolished by the Caledonian Railway actually, to construct their own bridge. Now a disused, rusty, abandoned river crossing above the River Kelvin that we're going to explore in a future episode. To give a description of that time period in Glasgow, people didn't yet speak traditional English. They spoke Old Scots, which was a variation of English, but not the traditional English as we know it today. Later on in Shakespeare's time, the late 1500s, there was of course a much more Old English being spoken. Coming out of the Middle Ages and Dark Ages, which is the least known time period of our history. Things were very peculiar in medieval kingdoms of the old British Isles, the least known time period in all our history. Now that we have gone over some basic history of the time and location, it's time to explore the ruins. In this part 1, I'm going to explore and document what is situated on the right side of the river here, at the art gallery side. And then in part 2 we're going to cross the river by foot potentially and document what is on the other side at the university. Like all good explorers, I have nicknamed specific sections of interest, which there are over 10 of. So let's explore. First of all, we get to the walkway, and you can see these stairs here are very, very worn. And it's locked off to maybe salvage the history here. Although the site's earliest history begins in the 1500s, here is a more recent history relating to the 1700s, when the incorporation of bakers bought over this part of the mill site. Now we're standing in the sluice. This walkway section that led out to here looks to be the newest structure in this entire mill site, looking by eye. And as you can see, the bricks are quite different here on top to these older looking ones down the bottom here, which are holding up that man-made island. So we have this incorporation of baker's plaque, which most likely was put in position late 1700s, 1800s, and I'll put on screen now what it says, but it is a bunch of names, and from a distance I thought it was Roman numerals a few weeks ago and I got really excited, and then I seen that it was English names. But yeah, so that is the incorporation of baker's plaque hidden away within this old mill site. Just over there, this man-made canal, the sluice. So now we enter the jungle through this fey trap looking thing. Now we move on to section 3, the jungle. As you can see, it is a very beautiful and tranquil section that I call the jungle. Here is man-made brickwork right here. So I found ruins of a building within the jungle. As you can see right there, here is the brickwork. Foundations of a building in the jungle. Look how square this section is right here. So as you can see, this area is quite jungleistic, very tranquil. I believe that it was once an artificial island that has grown into its own unique ecological area with specific tree and plant life. As you can see, viney trees. So now look at this, the mud bath. Wow, that is a welly. It's so dark, so low, and can't see inside there. Wow. There's a room inside this snow bridge. So that is inside the snow bridge. A sneak peek inside the snow bridge. This is what I was thinking of last night actually. It does look like just a set of stones, but that is steps. Definitely 100%. You can see the girders over here. So this is what the snow bridge is like from underneath. Wow. You can really see the old flooring right there. And this is beautiful. Back through the jungle now onto Pebble Island, section 4. But before we go there, here is some wonderful footage from a few weeks ago of some baby fish who habitat the river by the jungle. I have sat on this footage for some time to make sure the fish have migrated elsewhere, perhaps towards the Clyde. Leaving the jungle now, and I hope you enjoyed that footage of the baby fish. It looks to be some sort of pulley system, but it also looks like maybe a fisherman's thing, a reel, a fisherman's reel. But I believe it's an old pulley system that has got so much corrosion that you can't see it anymore, but it's stuck right in there, and there's lots to see within the pebbles. Lots of man-made little chiplets from pottery, but if you're here for views and not history, then just look around. It's absolutely beautiful. You can see inside of the baker's walkway, which is just fascinating to see that it's got a bunch of timber beams and it looks like shelf brackets. Can you see? 1, 2, 3, that bracket, that hinge placement thing. Something was missing. Something was there and now is missing. And now you see this little bracket here. There's another one over here inside. But yeah, we don't get the full picture here. What this was, I'm not sure. Maybe storage, but why would it be down by the river? And look at all the primitive, crude, very rudimentary looking placement of this. Yeah, so I think we've covered this section. But look at this, so sturdy, literally so strong. And look, we have this huge timber beam which lies across the pathway here. So, I will go over and finalise the final points of the history here of this mill site once we reach the end at Rock Island. So what we find here at this section seems to be a pretty significant part of the mill site. As you can see, there's lots of huge stones here, and this timber beam, which seems to have served a boardwalk, maybe a river crossing right here. As you can see, there is a timber beam coming out the water there that we're going to see more in detail in part 2. And here we have this gate remnant thing, and it is absolutely solid. It is unpenetrable, unmovable. So this shape right here with the two poles going to either side, I'm trying to figure out what it could have been and how there maybe was a gate here. But just the design of it with the two legs separated there, it's an odd design that I'm not familiar with. So that section of the ruins, simply nicknamed the Weir, seems to be a pretty significant part of this old mill site, but there seems to be ruins of multiple buildings all along this river embankment. It looks to be a bog, but not a peat bog that is covered and hidden. And there seems to be some stonework there. So yeah, more buildings around this area, and there are building pieces in the river right there. But this is sort of the middle section between the snow bridge and the Kelvin Walkway bridge. This area is so secluded and out the way, it's very hard to get to. And as you can see, it's just beautiful. Is why I call it the tropics. You see these white flowers, very nice, and just the very exotic leaves around here. And see this little area, someone's old skateboard. It looks pretty damaged, but that could actually be worth some sort of value if it is an authentic retro skateboard, which it does actually look like. So now we move on from Skateboard Island and the tropics. I can see one of the little songbirds right there. Now we've made it to one of the last sections on this part of the river. And this section actually, out of all the sections combined, is the most busiest. This is the most frequented section due to people seeing the chair from the pathway above, and then they travel down to see what it's like. And now we climb the lounge tree for some better views of the area. That's so nice, the water right there. So that's what's really cool about this area. There's little things for you to take away and recover. Very cool, very caveman looking. But now we walk up the public footpath next to the art galleries to get down to Rock Island.